With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
This is Ready, Set, Bet with Matt Brown and Mike Somich on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Hour number 2, Ready, Set, Bet here on VSiN. Matt Brown and Mike Somich. Alex Ovechkin does get it done. He is your all-time leading scorer in the NHL. Mike, you know the thing about hockey players, too, when they get older, because they just don't really care so much. Like you see, like Aaron Rodgers pulls his helmet off. You can tell he's like dyeing his beard and he's doing, all that stuff like that. Like Ovi kind of looks like your like older uncle, like just it's like still just like skating around out there or whatever. And you just like, but it's fine. Whatever. It kind of fits him, fits the personality.
Yeah, hockey players, they don't mind not looking their best, right? Yeah. You got the teeth missing during the games. You got the beards going during the playoffs, everything. Hockey players just built different.
You get gray as hell. It doesn't matter, whatever. Just let it be gray. You're not dying anything. We're getting 895 goals and counting. There's still some season to go here. Guys, whether you're betting Santa Anita, Gulfstream, you want to do the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, whatever you were going to be doing, try out our friends over at firstbet.com. Number one, STBET.com. Promo code is VSiN200. Get a 20% rebate on all your wagers for the first 60 days, up to $200. Bet smarter today over at firstbet.com. Now joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line, Noops Christenson, FTN Bets, betting analyst over there. We're going to talk some NBA with him. Noops, do you get into the Final Four, or is it because a lot of people, it's like you focus so heavily on the collegiate tournament that the NBA ends up becoming just the noise in the background? Is it the opposite for you? Is that the NBA is still front and center and then the collegiate basketball tournament's the noise in the background?
It's NBA over everything for me, but I do really get into the tournament. I probably didn't watch more than 30 minutes of college basketball before we got to the conference tournaments. So I start watching then, but the tournament itself, the single elimination, the fact that it's all these different teams together now, we didn't quite get a lot of the upsets that I like this year, but we've gotten to see some really good games. And I think none was any better than last night's victory of Houston over Duke. It's so much fun to watch a more veteran team get it together, know how to grind through that game. And after starting really poorly, they look good. So it's been kind of a fun end, and I'm curious to see how the final goes.
Yeah, Cooper Flagg looked phenomenal there, going to be the number one pick in the NBA draft. If you could pick the team that Cooper Flagg goes to, who would you like to see get him so that we get to see him in a good spot versus one of these just terrible franchises?
Yeah, obviously, selfishly, I'm a Philadelphia 76ers fan. I'd like to see him there. But if I have to pick from the teams, to try to be a little more honest about it, if I look at the Jazz, the Wizards, the Hornets, the Pelicans, your sort of bad teams there, maybe we even roll like the Brooklyn Nets in. The Pelicans, to me, would be really interesting. I think if you put Cooper Flagg next to Zion Williamson, Trey Murphy, DeJounte Murray, have a really interesting four-pack of guys that can move the ball around, that can all sort of create for themselves and for each other. Yves Missi fits nicely next to them at center, and we get to sort of bring back New Orleans basketball to the forefront a little bit. So if I have to pick any of the more reasonable teams, I think I'd go with the New Orleans Pelicans. I think that's a really fun fit.
Noops, maybe the process was just way longer than we thought, and the process was actually just to get it to where you get Cooper Flagg instead.
It's certainly a possibility, and we seem to have a chance.
It was the super long game, right?
To name the top Sixers, but we might be the top Fivers in a week or so. Fingers crossed.
I like it a ton. All right, let's head over to the NBA for this evening, and we'll start with Trae Young, in which you were looking at a player prop.
Yeah, one of my favorite sort of things I've done all season. Trae Young really struggles with no rest. If you go back and look through his games this year, in games where he has 2+ days rest, almost always goes over his point prop. Something about having fresh legs really helps. You see improved efficiency. The volume is relatively the same. But the opposite happens when he has no rest. Tonight is a back-to-back. And if you go back and look on back-to-backs tonight, this season, he basically averages about 3-4 less points there. And I continue to see the market fail to kind of build in that adjustment. We're looking at a point total of 25.5 here. even with everything normal here, our model over at FTN has them projected for about 24.5 points. When I add sort of my own adjustments or back-to-back, I'm much, much lower than this. Give me Trae Young with no rest to struggle today, under 25.5 points.
Now, if we're talking about the disappointing teams this year in the NBA, the 76ers obviously have to be mentioned, but the Suns are right up there for me, and they look like they just don't even want to play basketball together anymore. You're going with them tonight, though. You like them plus the points against the Knicks. Tell us why.
I'm going to put this out in the universe because I really hope that it comes to fruition. If anyone has been following the Suns around with the camera all season, please, 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 we need a documentary. I want to know what happened with Yusuf Nurkic and why he didn't talk to the coach for 2 months. Kevin Durant seeming to be okay with the idea of being traded as long as it wasn't the Warriors. What did Devin Booker say that required the coach to tell him to talk less? It's just been a fascinating season, but a lot of betting, guys, is holding your nose and eating the stinky cheese. There is no stinkier cheese than the Phoenix Suns, but against the New York Knicks, second night of a back-to-back. And again, I don't know why Thibodeau doesn't seem to understand the value of rest in his guys. They're one of the worst teams on back-to-back all season. They've only covered twice in their 14 back-to-backs this season. I don't expect today to be any different. Now, we know Jalen Brunson is coming back. That also makes it a little bit tougher. Yes, he will bring some offense and some energy to a team that's tired after playing too many minutes last night, but it's always hard to reintegrate these high usage guys. And I find for the first couple games, it really sort of messes with the team. So maybe this is less of faith in the Suns and more of just kind of wanting to fade the Knicks. But as crazy as it sounds, gentlemen, I'm going to take my hard-earned money and bet it on the Phoenix Suns plus 9 points.
I like it. Talking to Noops Christenson, you can find his great work over at FTN. Let's head to an 8:40 Eastern tip in the Rockets and the Warriors. This is currently 5.5-ish sitting there on the Warriors. 224.5 is our total. We are going to look at this one a little bit differently, however.
Yeah, when you get to the end of the season, guys, the market has a lot of information. They know how to make these numbers, and they're very sharp. You've seen over the last couple weeks a lot of games coming down to 1 point or less, plus or minus the spread. So we got to look a little further down the list, if you will. Go a little further down the deli board, and I continue to find value even late in the season in these first quarter markets. Some of these teams, and part of it, it's a lineup perspective. Part of it is kind of how coaches prepared their teams coming in night to night. Some are much better at the beginning of games, some at the end of games. And tonight we kind of have that dichotomy in a Houston Rockets team that has been great all season, home or road in the first 12 minutes of the game. Ime Udoka pushes his starters a little bit more minutes than most teams do. They really come in sharp, well above 500 against the spread again in that first quarter, whereas the Warriors come in a little bit slower. And we see this from veteran teams. The coaching staff knows these guys know how to kind of play through a game. The Warriors really tend to make their big moves in the third quarter. So for the first quarter, they've struggled all season. So I think the best way to bet this game is to kind of do it in segments. And I'm going to take the Rockets early and then honestly probably look for a position on the Warriors late. But for now, give me the Rockets in the first quarter. They're getting 1.5 points, and I think it should be closer to a pick.
As Warriors team's been playing phenomenally since they've gotten Jimmy Butler added to the squad there. I was impressed they were able to win on Friday. That was 4 games, and I believe it was 4 games in 5 nights that they were playing there. It's a tough spot, able to still overcome and beat a Denver team that's currently right in the smack middle of this Western Conference standings. And you've got the Lakers in the 3 seed, right? They're 17 back. You go to the 8 seed, which is currently the Memphis Grizzlies. They're 18.5 back. So you've got these 5 teams all jockeying for playoff position. What do you make of this Lakers team that now has the toughest schedule coming home? The 3 seed, obviously incredibly important for them. They don't want to play OKC in the second round. Are they going to be able to get this 3 seed? And do you believe in this Lakers project this year? Or do you think it's going to take an offseason to be able to really get this team where they need to be?
The Lakers certainly could hold on to the 3 or 4 seed and have home court advantage. Again, the 3 is really important. Like you said, they avoid Oklahoma City until the conference finals. But just again, also like you said, Mike, the schedule is really tough for them. These guys are dealing with some injuries here. We know LeBron James has been playing, but maybe a little bit less than 100%. And I struggle to see how this team is going to do once they get to the postseason. Even if they can get the 3 seed, avoid Oklahoma City until the conference finals. Once we get into these playoff series, teams are going to find ways to scheme basically this team into really tough spots because there's just not a good big guy. No matter what you do, you're looking at a lot of minutes with Rui Hachimura and Jackson Hayes playing center, and those are guys you can attack on both ends of the floor. Defensively, they're going to really struggle. Teams, I think, are going to basically grind the Lakers through pick and rolls until they get the matchup they want. Defensively, you can move guys off Jackson Hayes. Again, you can kind of keep somebody on Rui Hachimura that's a little bit less athletic. It's a good spot to kind of hide some of these guys. So the Lakers, it's going to be a tough finish to the season for them. I think that maybe they can win a first round series. If they do get to a second round series, I think they're really going to struggle, but we'll see how they look after the offseason. That's going to be a good period for them to try to find some big guys, to try to find a way to sort of fill things out here on the margins for a team that right now is a bit of a skeleton crew.
Nope, short price on the Thunder, short price on the Celtics. Both teams seem inevitable, but okay, let's just live in a world where it is not the Thunder or the Celtics that get it done at the end of the year. What team can take them down?
The Cleveland Cavaliers for me are the pick in the Eastern Conference. Again, that's sort of the easy selection, but I've been talking about them all season. I think that they're built very well. Obviously, no one is really built perfectly to play against the Celtics, but they have a few ways to challenge them. They don't mind when the Celtics go big, which really challenges a lot of teams. They've got guards in Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland who have shown success against Boston. They're not afraid to win those big moments at the end of games. So I've got a bunch of Cavaliers to win the Eastern Conference from throughout the season. If you don't, I think there's still some pretty nice numbers there. If you're looking at anything plus 150 or better, again, Boston will probably be favored in that conference finals, but not nearly to the number you can get on the Cavaliers now. As for out west, it's going to be really tough for anybody to beat Oklahoma City in a 7-game series. As I look at some of the candidates, I think the Warriors can be really scary given how well they've played. The Minnesota Timberwolves are peaking at the right time. And maybe the Denver Nuggets, if they can somehow find a way to get Jokic a little bit of rest here before the postseason. But yeah, as much as I do think the Cavaliers can really give it to the Celtics in the East, it's hard to be confident in anybody but Oklahoma City in the West.
He is Noops Christenson. Find his work over at FTN_Noops on the Twitter machine as well. Appreciate the time as always, buddy, and good luck.
Thanks, gentlemen. Best of luck until we talk again.
Well, Mike, we are looking around. We got 4 runs in Diamondbacks Nationals. The Dodgers still up 2-0. Yankees are on the board here early. White Sox and Tigers have 3 runs. There are runs getting scored all over Major League Baseball, buddy.
Yeah, and we have the over in Boston St. Louis, which has had the bases loaded in 2 of the 4 half innings and no runs there.
We'll update you all on everything when we come back.
Welcome back to Ready, Set, Bet with Matt Brown and Mike Somich on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Ready, Set, Bet here on VSiN. Matt Brown, Mike Somich. Mike, we talk about sports being weird. We bet on this stuff. You know, I mean, it's like if you I just saw a replay from the Live tournament that is going on right now, and Phil Mickelson hits one into a green. It's like pin seeking. So much so that it hit the flagstick and rolled off the green into the water. Again, we bet on this stuff. He hit it so good. He hit it too good. It hits the stick, rolls into the water. Well, we're sitting here watching the Dodgers and Phillies, and we're like, Chris Sanchez got 4 Ks, 2 on Shohei, 2 on Mookie, and the rest of the lineup's hitting him just like everything's going fine. It's just, it's wild. He's got the two best hitters in the lineup. He can strike them out, everybody else getting to him. And then, like you said, you've got an over in a game that's had about 400 base runners already. Nobody can get across. It's just, it's interesting. There's variance.
In the second inning alone, 6 base runners stranded. How do you strand 6 base runners in 1 inning without scoring a run?
It's hard to do. I can tell you that.
It's tough.
And then over in San Antonio, yeah, we talked a lot about San Antonio from a basketball perspective. We didn't talk about it from a golf perspective. Just one thing I do want to bring up is we're still trying to get home over there in the Texas Valero Open, in which the winds decided to blow again today. And what we have is Brian Harman stuck in neutral, even par on the day through 5, where Andrew Novak is 2 under. So he's just 1 off the lead here, Mike. So we have 12 under for Harman, 11 under for Novak. The next closest guy is Tom Hoagie, who is 4 back of Novak, 5 back off of the lead. So it looks to be a 2-horse race down the stretch here, but could be a fun finish. The weather at least gave us something here. That's fun.
Yeah, it could be interesting. Harman goes out, shoots even par yesterday, 72, even here through 5 so far today. Just trying to hang on, it feels like, is Harman. Like, you don't expect him to go out and shoot 3 under here on the back and be able to really put this away. So the question is will Novak be able to finish this off?
So let's look here at the draft position. And this is very interesting to me, Mike, in the over-under market, where I actually did play a couple of these, and I'm curious as to where you think that some of these dudes will go. So if you head to DraftKings, guys, you go in, it's under the 2025 draft tab, you slide over to draft positions, and then it's basically the over-unders on all of that. Just remember, under means under the number, so it's just a weird thing to think. So if it's six, let's say it's listed at 6.5, the guy has to go in 1 to 6. And if he go and for it to be an under, if he goes 7 further, and it's over. So sometimes like your brain just works a little differently with all that. So I've had people ask me that question before, but Mike, I played Genty under 9.5. I keep looking at all of the smart people's mocks out there. I keep looking at everything that everybody continues to say about him, that he is, you know, as much of a difference maker coming into the draft as we've seen since Saquon Barkley. They are that confident in him going in whatever team that he fits with, being able to really make an impact right off of the bat. And, you know, obviously been mocked a ton to the Raiders with pick 6, but if the Raiders ended up passing on him, I mean, I think you still have a couple of other places where it wouldn't be the craziest. If the Jets took him, I think maybe weird. They kind of have a crowded running back room, but the Panthers at 8 and the Saints at 9, I think both would be contenders to take him. I think that they just don't believe right now that he's going to be there. And so I took the under 9.5. I think that everything that these guys are saying, again, these are talent evaluators. I am not, but you know, I believe in what they are saying about him, that he is too good to fall in this draft because he can step in right away and make a difference on your offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, the under 9.5 here is juiced to minus 250. And for me, that's a little bit too big of a number right now to bet it, because I kind of agree with your handicap there, where the most logical spot is that 6th spot to the Raiders. I guess the Jags at 5 is possible, but I don't think they're going to take him at 5, especially if there's offensive linemen on the board, which there 100% are going to be in that situation. I don't see the Jets taking him. The Panthers signed Hubbard for a multiple year deal. And then you have that Saints team who has Kamara for multiple years as well. And so my concern here is if he doesn't go at that 6th position, I'm not sure he goes in the top 10, over the top 9, I should say, unless someone trades up and gets him, which I don't think is out of the question. I'm just not sure what team that would be. There's a lot of talk around the Cowboys at 12. Did they want to move up and try and get him to make sure that they're able to add to that running back room, which is just absolutely atrocious at this point? There's some logic in that in my mind, but I'm a little concerned if it's not 6 to the Raiders, there's not that logical fit after that 7 through 9 position. Yeah,
I'm of the mindset, I think the Jags could take anybody. Like, I think the Jags are so kind of disjointed. Like, they could take anyone. It wouldn't surprise me. I think they're the craziest team maybe in the top 10 as to what their range of outcomes could be with their pick, because if they took anything, yeah, I mean, if they took anything, you'd be like, well, okay, you know, like they could. Yep. I mean, ATN was horrible last year. You know, I mean, he graded out, I think, bottom 5 of like 60 running backs according to PFF or something like that. Like, I mean, he was miserable. You know, in the Saints, I mean, like Kamara's on the downside of his, you know, on the end of his rope there. So I don't know. I think that it's open there. What about some of these other ones? I mean, like, so for example, Emeka Egbuka is sitting there at 29.5, which is basically almost a will there be a third wide receiver taken in the first round bet, right? And like that is kind of the question here that we're wondering as we head into this. We know there will be 2. We are very confident in Golden and McMillan going, but there really isn't a consensus on a third guy, and there certainly isn't a consensus on whether a third guy is going to go in the first round or not. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, both Egbuka and Burden are the 2 that there talks about possibly being first round wide receivers. I do think we get 3. I'm more interested in seeing if we get a 2.5 or a 3.5 for a number of wide receivers taken in the first round. I like the over on the 2.5 because I do expect at a premium position you're going to get either Burden or Egbuka end up being drafted in that first round spot. I actually like another wide receiver here. I like Golden under 17.5 at plus money. He's sitting there plus 135 to go under 17.5. We both talked about him possibly being the first wide receiver off the board. I would expect 2 are off the board by the 18th pick. And if that's the case, Golden is definitely going to be drafted there. So I did have a Golden under 17.5 plus money price that I thought was playable here.
Yeah, the interesting thing to me about about Golden is, one, like I said, we think he could possibly be the first one taken off anyway. And two, even if he's not the first one taken, once McMillan goes and he is really the consensus second best dude, and there really isn't the third best dude, some teams are going to like Egbuka, some teams are going to like Burden. Who knows? Maybe an Isaiah Bond gets himself into the conversation or whatever for the third guy. I think there's going to be some team that goes, man, if we don't get Golden, then we're not going to get anybody we like, And so I'm kind of with you there. I think that wide receiver, considering it is so incredibly volatile after the top two, I think that Golden ends up maybe getting reached for a tad.
Yeah, this isn't like last year's draft where you just had a boatload of top tier wide receivers. And again, this is a premium position in this current version of the NFL, right? It's quarterback, it's defensive end, it's wide receiver. You need to find very good wide receivers in the draft if you want to be able to build, because of how much you are paying them in their second and their third contracts. And so we talk about position scarcity a lot when you're talking about fantasy drafts, and you've got to decide, okay, am I willing to take the next person down the board, or is this really the last guy that I want at this position and I'm willing to reach? That's kind of what we have here in the first round from a wide receiver perspective, where it is those top two. And that makes me feel like you're going to have someone in that 13, 14, 15, 16 range say, I'm not letting him off the board because I don't know what I'm going to get when I'm drafting again in the second round.
Yeah. So the other thing that I bet is the under 24.5 on Jackson Dart. And we're to the point now, Mike. I mean, some of the books have moved this to 21.5 now. So, I mean, like, this has moved 3 positions already. At minus 210 at DraftKings, I got it at a better number than this, fortunately. But the minus 210 at DraftKings, I think we just have to understand we're living in a world where Jackson Dart is going to be a first-round quarterback, and somebody's going to take him, and we're just going to have to deal with it. Like, I mean, I know you and I were kind of up on the fence about what we think about Dart overall, but I'm not a talent evaluator. People have gone. They have seen. There are some people who say they like Dart better than Shedeur Sanders, like some of these front offices and stuff. And so, I think there's a chance he goes pretty high in this draft.
All right, you just look back to last year. You got Penix, you've got J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, all in the top 12. If that's the case, you got to think, especially the momentum that Dart has and the lack of momentum on Sanders' side, that he is going to be a first-round quarterback. And then it's, okay, where does he fit? Well, it's probably top 20 if he is going in the first round. And in that case, under 21.5, I would still take, assuming you're getting a significantly better number here, the 24.5, as you said, minus 210 to the under. I do like under 24.5. I like under 21.5 as well. You just see these quarterbacks, especially when you have a drop-off after Dart again, you see them getting drafted higher than you expected every year.
Yeah, and it's, the other thing too is, like we say, there's always trades that can happen, all of that. The 24.5, the reason it's so significant is the Rams are sitting there at 26. Could they just want to flip-flop with the Vikings at 24 to get, so there's pretty significance there with all of that. But I think Jackson Dart is going to be a first-round quarterback. Guys, if you have not done Edge Boost yet already, you got to go in and give it a whirl here. It's the first ever bank account that is built for bettors. It's edgeboost.bet. When you go in, deposit $25. Edge Boost is going to match that deposit as well. No usage fees. Earn cash back. 100% approval for all betting deposits. Edgeboost.bet. Edgeboost.bet.
Welcome back to Ready, Set, Bet with Matt Brown and Mike Somich on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Ready, Set, Bet here on VSiN. Matt Brown, Mike Somich. The Nats getting to Corbin Burns 3-2 early there for the Nats over the Diamondbacks. The Phillies have tied it up, and maybe some more damage to come. 2-2 there in the third inning. Pirates up on the Yankees 2-1 in the third inning. Still scoreless. Cardinals and Red Sox. White Sox up 2-1 there on the Tigers in the fourth inning. Scoreless Blue Jays, Mets. The Royals 3 in the bottom of the first on the Orioles. So 3-0 there. Scoreless Reds and Brewers and Astros on the board in the top of the first against the Twins. 1-0. Padres 2-0 on the Cubs there in the top of the first. Now joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line, Adam Zdorik, college basketball bracketology over at RotoWire, and he asked if we watched the games. Of course we watched the games. Of course we are taking those games in yesterday, and I do want to get your thoughts as we look back. How did you expect the games to go yesterday? And did they go as planned for you, or was there, I mean, obviously you couldn't have predicted the crazy comeback at the end, but did they go kind of as planned for you, or was it kind of a little wacky?
I think the Duke game went as planned until the last 2 minutes there where Houston actually came back. I mean, you could see right from the start, Duke's size, Duke's talent was just another level over Houston. And that was seen pretty much throughout the game until the end. It'll be interesting to see how that matches up in this next game. And then even the Auburn-Florida game, it just felt like it went how I expected in the first half, but then it seemed like Auburn just fell off. Janai Broome, maybe that injury got to him. He was blowing really hard in the first half. He was getting tired in the first half, and that's usually not a good sign in the Final Four when you're out of breath in the first half of a big game like this against a Florida team that likes to run. And I forget what the stat was. He didn't have a field goal. He didn't have a point in the final 10 minutes of the game. His injury, in fact that, their offense just fell apart there at the end of the game, and Walter Clayton took over. So there's, a couple aspects to both those games. Houston's grit and mindset took over that end of that game. Walter Clayton and their defense a little bit took over the end of that second half there against Auburn.
Now, looking ahead to Monday night, one of the most interesting storylines in my mind is going to be the first half of this basketball game. You got a Houston team that has been phenomenal in the first half, and a Florida team that has started the last 4 games poorly in the first half of these. What do you make of the first half? You think Florida can get off to a little bit better start against Houston, or is this a Houston team that's just a truck early?
They could be a truck. Well, we'll see. It seems like these games for Florida, it's like Walter Clayton, he hit some threes yesterday, but no one else really had a great first half. Their bigs just kind of, maybe the moment was a little too big for them, but it almost feels like this Houston team, this defense is just going to come out right at them and maybe be a bit of a surprise, kind of like that Auburn game. And I kind of like Houston a little bit in that first half because of that reason. Maybe it's a championship game and Florida has a different mindset coming into it, but you can't really plan to play, or you can't practice to play this Houston defense. And Duke was really good. And especially in the first half, it just dealing with the pressure, dealing with the guards on the outside, dealing with everything Houston was doing. And then, that fell apart a little bit there with their 2 field goals in the final 13 minutes. So you kind of look at those 2 aspects of it. And I do think that, the one thing for Florida, their struggles in the tournament, you look at their overall season numbers, great defense, great offense, but their defense just really hasn't been up to their overall season levels in this tournament. They've been kind of dominated by bigs. Janai Broome had that great first half. The Texas Tech bigs got to him. Derek Queen got to him. That's been kind of their main fault. And then I also think in that Florida game against UConn, where for UConn, I think this game is going to be kind of similar because I think Houston's going to be able to prevent Florida from running, and that's what Florida does best. They want to get running, and Houston's transitional defense, I think that's going to be a big aspect here. So I think that Houston, just that pressure is going to right off the bat, it's going to be a little different for Florida to handle. So I'd give the Houston edge right there.
So Adam, we see Walter Clayton just go absolutely nuclear last night. And so what do you as Houston do from a defensive standpoint? Is this do we just say, okay, the rest of the team can beat us, we cannot let this guy do this? And are you really just rolling and focusing an incredible amount of attention on him alone? Because if it was not for him, I think we can all safely say if it was not for him, they would not have won. They would have not have won that game. And so it's like, it seems like if you can figure out a way to at least slow him down, even that, yeah, it really does kind of lean Houston's side.
Yeah, in terms, Auburn kind of took they put Baker Mazzara, he's 6'7", had some length, and that, he provided length, but he was still getting threes pretty much all game. The aspect of Auburn, they could put all of their guards on him, Miles Kelly, Denver Jones, they could put all those guys on him, but at the end of the day, it just didn't work. I think the aspect of Houston, maybe they're not going to, put more attention onto stopping Clayton. I think it'll just be more about, we got to get transitional defense. A lot of that game against Auburn, with Walter Clayton, he just got rebounds. He was the outlet, and he was a fast break by himself. And he got, I don't know, 4 or 5 layups, it seemed like, on the fast break by himself. and Auburn was just too slow to get back and stop him. I don't think that's going to be a problem for Houston. And then when we get in the half court and things like that, I don't think they're going to put too much focus of, okay, we have to because the other guys could beat them. Elijah Martin can hit threes. Will Richard can hit threes. Houck can hit threes. All these other guys can actually make shots. So I don't think they're going to be like, okay, this is the one guy we have to stop. Maybe, if he gets 20 points in the first half, maybe they're going to have to change up their ideas a little bit. But I think the aspect of Houston that is maybe a little different from what Auburn was presenting was, okay, they're going to get back in transition, but just like Joseph Tugler has been really good at around the rim, Juwan Roberts has been really good around the rim. Just these guys, they're only 6'8", but they have so much length that it almost catches some of these players off guard. That's like, okay, these guys can get to anything, even though they're 6'8". I mean, the stat going around I've seen the past 12 hours is Maluach, 7'2", didn't have a rebound against Houston. I think the sneaky length of Houston is, we'll see what Clayton can do against it, but I think just the activity of all these guys on Houston is still going to present something a little different than what Clayton's dealing with. And if that aggressiveness, that activity with Houston pretty much at every position, if that's enough, then that'll be enough for Houston. But, again, if Clayton has success against that, maybe Kelvin Sampson's going to have to go in the locker room and, okay, maybe we do decide to defend him a little differently than what the original plan was.
Now we see a total sitting at 141, so a tick up from what we saw the Duke Houston total sitting around 136.5 in the semifinal game there. Who do you think controls the pace? Because Houston's going to want to slow this down. Florida wants to get out and run. Who do you think has more success controlling which style of game they want to play?
I think there'll be spurts each way. I was looking at right now at Ken Palm, it's projecting 65 possessions, and I think that's a pretty good look. The best comparison for this Houston team was that Gonzaga game. It finished 81-76, 65 possessions in that game. And then the best comparison for Florida would be that UConn game, 66 possessions, that finished 77-75. So I actually do think the over would be the better play, even with 65 possessions, 66 possessions. I think the Houston offense can have success going with Roberts down low and attacking with their guards. It seems like Uzan or Cryer, one of those guys goes off every game. Maybe they're not going to both go off, but one of those guys is just, draining shots. And then I think Roberts is just going to be a problem again. Roberts was awesome yesterday against Duke, and we've seen the Florida Bigs all tournament have trouble at times, and it seems like a game where Roberts is. I'd look at something like a double bet if you want to bet Houston money line as well with Juwan Roberts overs. I like that. He's just going to be a guy, as long as he doesn't get into foul trouble. 35-ish minutes against a front court that has kind of struggled defensively in the tournament. So I think both offenses will have success. Looks like we just got a line movement there. We got Houston plus 100 right now, but I think the Houston offense can have success. I also think Florida will get their moments of Clayton doing what he does. So I think both teams will be able to score.
He's Adam Zdorik. Find his work over at RotoWire, at RotoZdorik over on the Twitter machine. Appreciate the time, buddy, and enjoy the game.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You too.
Guys, if you haven't done so already, VSiN.com/subscribe. $59 now through August the 1st. Every single thing we do, that includes, yes, the betting splits page, the picks page, all the daily articles breaking down everything across the sports landscape. And of course, we know you love it, the betting splits page over on there from not only DraftKings, but from Circa as well. Yes, you get the big boy bets and see what people are doing here at the world's largest sportsbook out behind me. So again, VSiN.com/subscribe, $59 now until August the 1st. The day is done for Glass now. The day is done. He gets pulled in the third mic after only getting through 2 innings. And guess what? 5 walks. Five walks. And then the grand salami there for Nick Castellanos. Now I got me a 4-run buffer. Let's see what we can get going here, boy. Let's go.
Welcome back back to Ready, Set, Bet with Matt Brown and Mike Somich on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Ready, Set, Bet here on VSiN. Matt Brown, Mike Somich coming to you on a Sunday in which we're watching the Major League Baseball landscape going, some interesting things going on today. Just kind of like, one of the best pitchers in baseball in Corbin Burnes getting knocked around the yard a little bit here by the Washington Nationals, giving up 6 hits and walked 4 through 3 1/3. Mike, that is not a very sharp start there from Corbin Burnes.
Not good. Can't have a clean inning. Every single you've given up 2 in the first, 1 in the second, 1 in the third. Runners on base already here in the fourth. I mean, just nothing clean right now for Corbin Burnes, and the walks are what really concerns you.
And we said we didn't really have an opinion in this Yankees-Pirates game. It seemed like the price was a little too high on the Yankees, and you never know which version of Andrew Heaney you're going to get. Well, the answer today is the good version of Andrew Heaney, as he has struck out 8 Yankees through 4 innings. Like, he's only thrown 65 pitches, so he's probably got another inning or two there, at least from a leash standpoint for the Pirates. And so, it's kind of the deal where he's like a better DFS play than he is us to bet on him, because when Heaney has his stuff, he can do what he's doing today against one of the better lineups in all of baseball. And then when he doesn't have his stuff, we could easily be looking up and he's given up 4 home runs already in this one. So it's like he's like a good DFS play, not necessarily like a guy you bet on.
Yeah, good DFS play, possible streaming pitcher if you like the matchup. Now, I'm not sure you like the matchup today, and he's out there dealing. So it makes it a little more difficult to put him in your lineup there. But it's someone who can be very frustrating to bet. If you are betting him, I mean, you just play the ridiculous outcomes, right? You play the Pirates alternate run line against the Yankees today. You play over 9 strikeouts instead of taking the number 4.5 or 5.5, depending on what it is during that day. You find ways to be creative around how you're going to play him, because you're going to get so many starts that are on both ends of the bell curve.
Well on our way to an over in the Padres and Cubs, as the Padres put up 3 in the top of the first, and the Cubs have answered with 2 in the bottom of the first and still have two more outs to work with there in the bottom of the first. So 5 runs in the first inning just so far. We still have 2/3 of that inning remaining there on that one. So again, it's just baseball's a little weird today. So, it's fine.
Baseball's baseballing.
Yeah.
You're going to get variance in a 162 game season, and a lot of interesting results right now through the first half of a lot of these games. And
the A's and Rockies are going to have a first pitch here in about 20 minutes. Just wanted to make sure that you got your bet in that one back out there to everybody.
Yeah, give me the Rockies -0.5 run here. They've got the number 14 prospect out of the top 100 who's going to start today, taking on Estes, an A's pitcher that I like to fade here. So we'll take the Rockies -0.5 run plus 117 first 5.
Now, guys, if you want to go ahead and load up first bet, we're about to give you some horse plays. So I'm going to give you time to do this, right? So go in. Our friends at First Bet, that is 1stbet.com. This is an app in which you can go in and you can bet on horse racing, not only here in the United States, but all around the entire world. And not only can you bet on the app, you can watch the races happen right there in the app as well. And so what we've done is you go in, you put in promo code VSiN200. When you do that, you're going to get a 20% rebate on all your wagers for the first 60 days up to $200. So again, it's firstbet.com, 1stbet.com, promo code VSiN200, 20% rebate on all your wagers for the first 60 days up to 200 bills. But before we get to the track, let's head to the ice.
Technical regulation size of what?
It's time to ask Mike Somich, what the
Don't you ever touch my puck!
Here we go, Mike. Stars and Wild, and you are going to go again. We don't always have to bet these traditionally. It doesn't have to just be a money line bet. It doesn't just have to be a total bet. So let's go off the reservation here.
Yeah, let's go to one of my favorite bets in hockey, especially later in the season here. Let's take the first period under Stars and Wild and get under a goal and a half, -110 in this spot. It's 2 very good defensive teams in a game that matters a lot for both of them. The Wild trying to now catch the Blues for that number 1 wild card spot after the Blues ripped off their 12th straight last night. And the Stars team trying to get the number 1 overall seed in the West, just 4 points back of the Winnipeg Jets with a game in hand. So a win today puts them just 2 back of a Jets team that's kind of struggling a little bit right now as well. So big opportunity for the Stars to try and make up ground, big opportunity for the Wild to make up ground. That generally creates playoff style hockey for two defensive teams. So let's take the under goal and a half first period here. And this is a noon puck drop too. So only 10 minutes to puck drop now.
Go ahead and get in on that one, guys, right now. And what about the Panthers?
Look, this is the Panthers team that's struggling right now. They've lost 4 straight. It's a Wings team that's struggling as well. That's who they're playing today. They're on the road. The Panthers need a win. Again, this is a big game for them from a playoff perspective. The Wings season essentially over at this point. The Panthers are short favorites, -120, -130, depending on where you're shopping. I'm going to go ahead and lay the goal and a half and try and get a big number home here. So you get +190 on the Panthers, who are the better team. They also played phenomenally well against Ottawa last game, which they lost, but they had 40 shots on goal and just could not solve the goaltender. I think that changes today. I like this Panthers team quite a bit. So we'll lay the goal and a half with the Panthers +190.
There we go. Stars and Wild, and that one's happening pretty soon here. That is first period under goal and a half. And then Panthers, we're going to go ahead and take the puck line there. In that one, let's head to the track.
Saddle up, partner.
Want to bet the horses with Mike Somich?
When I bet on horses, I never lose. Why? I bet on all the horses.
It's time to pony up.
Giddy up.
Oh, boy. We don't bet on all the horses. We like to have that. It's fun. It's a fun open. We don't bet on all the horses, though. I promise you we don't do that. Mike, we did. It's kind of like good news, bad news from yesterday with all of this, because the good news is that one of the horses you liked ran fast. In the also kind of bad news, but it's good news as well, which is you and Aaron went heads up, but neither one of the horses won, so it doesn't matter. Like he didn't get the better of you, so it doesn't matter. He didn't get the better of you.
My horse ran second. His horse ran fourth. So I got the better of him.
There you go.
It was Rodriguez ends up winning the Wood Memorial. Looked very good doing so. Was able to get the lead for the first time. Had the top 4, wrong order, right horses over on VSiN.com. If you like that, if you checked out that article, box up the super. You got it home. Got one of our prices home, which was nice on the 8th, running third there. Journalism romps in the Santa Anita Derby, looked absolutely phenomenal doing so as well. Journalism going to be your favorite the first Saturday in May, and very much a deserving favorite, and looks like he is head and shoulders over this class. We'll see what the numbers come back at for that race, but he's going to be a we'll call it 2-1, 5-2 type favorite against this field. So going to be a very interesting season here for Journalism, who I'm not going to say can win the Triple Crown, but it's not unquestionable that he's got a shot at doing so if he's able to get through the Kentucky Derby. Now, moving on to today, we're looking at Keeneland. Keeneland started their meet today. It was supposed to start on Friday, but due to rain, they did not have Friday or Saturday racing. And due to rain, a lot of their races are off the turf today as well. We're actually going to bet 2 of those races. So you're going to see high morning lines here at 12-1 and 10-1. We're not getting anywhere near those prices because those were turf morning lines, not dirt morning lines. So we're going to start out here with the 5th race at Keeneland. We're going to the 2 first.
By the way, this one's going off in 15 minutes.
Yeah,
so if anyone wants to go, the whole field dropped out. It's like, this is amazing. This is one of those races where when you take a race off turf, and they were originally slated to have 12 horses in this field with a couple of horses who were also eligible. So you could have had, you would have expected a full field. Now we are getting down to just a field of 5. And that's one of the reasons you're seeing the morning line at 12-1 on the 2-horse Just Better drop all the way down to the current 7-5 price. I like this horse quite a bit. Like this horse has run twice, has been in races which have been taken off the turf. I ran second in a debut race that was taken off the turf, and then ran over this Keeneland track and won by 6 lengths when a race was taken off the turf. You have turf horses in here, not dirt horses. Just Better, able to handle both surfaces. Also very good on an off track, and it is sloppy today at Keeneland. So we're going to take the number 2, Just Better, and Keeneland's race number 5. 12 minutes to post right now on the Keeneland race number 5 as well. So if you want this one, head over to Express Bet. Make sure you get that bet in very quickly because we're just 12 minutes away from Keeneland's 5th. I can tell you this, not as many, at least so far. I suppose we still have time for other horses to get scratched, but not as many scratches there in race number 8.
Yeah, no, not as many scratches in race number 8. And one of the reasons is this is a stakes race. So $300,000 purse. So you want to keep your horse in if you believe they are going to be able to handle the dirt course. And this is an interesting one. I want to see what we're actually going to get on the number 1 Long Neck Paula, who is 10-1 on the morning line. This is a horse who's never run on turf, run on dirt 4 times, run the synthetic once, has run over this Keeneland racetrack once and was able to win over this dirt track. Is bred to love the off track as well. So another horse that should appreciate the sloppy going today. I think Long Neck Paula should be a fairly heavy favorite in this spot. I'm talking like 4-5, even money type range. I'm hoping we can get around 2-1 on Long Neck Paula, but I like the 1 quite a bit here in Keeneland's 8th race, Long Neck Paula as well. 10-1 on the morning line again. Not going to get that price, but anything over even money, I think, is value here on Long Neck Paula.
Look at that. Okay, so we are not. You don't think that Turbulent Force is going to end up as the favorite?
No, I don't. Turbulent Force is the favorite of all the horses that were left in here, but Turbulent Force has never run on dirt. Now, that's the big difference there, right? Long Neck Paula had been running on dirt prior to this race. Turbulent Force, 2 races over the turf, 1 over the synthetic. It probably makes the lead, but I think Long Neck Paula able to run her down late.
I like it. I'm firing.
Let's go.
I'm firing, buddy. Gone in there. Long Neck Paula is in the it's in the account. I was going to bet Long Neck Paula anyway. You knew that. If there was a horse who had a name of Long Neck Paula, you were positive that I was going to be betting on. When we come back, we'll update you on what's going on over there in Major League Baseball. Some more games to preview as well.